Hello, welcome back. At the end of spring, I always start getting really impatient, so I'm just waiting for all my favorite hikes at the higher elevations to start melting out. But fortunately, there's longer days and the sun is starting to shine, so it makes all the options at lower elevations a little more appealing. This week I ended up driving to the coast where I got a drive-in campsite on the beach, and then I spent a full 24 hours enjoying the sea breeze and salty air. And I can't wait to show you, so here you go, enjoy! I've been wanting to test out some new camping gear as I prepare for some road trip plans for this summer. So I looked up state park campgrounds and ended up choosing a spot at Pacific Beach State Park. It's just under a 3-hour drive from Seattle and puts you right on the coast. I don't drive out this way often, and it's long enough where I knew I'd have the opportunity to try out a new burger stand. I ended up in Elma at a burger stand called Smitty's In-N-Out, and I was planning on only getting a burger, but then I saw cheese curds, and I am from Wisconsin, so I couldn't pass those up. I usually set low expectations when I get fried cheese curds outside of Wisconsin, but these were pretty legit, and actually really good. The burger was pretty great too. So I highly recommend this place if you're driving through. It is a little out of the way from the highway, but totally worth it. After passing through Aberdeen, Pacific Beach is another 40 minutes away. Driving through the forest is quicker, but I had a bit of time to kill before the check-in time, so I drove along the coast. There's really not as many views as I was anticipating, but it was still nice to pass through all the little coastal towns. Right before getting to Pacific Beach, there's Seabrook that looks pretty dang swanky. But I only had one destination on mind for this trip, and that was Pacific Beach. I got to the state park, parked my car at the site, and headed straight for the beach. I had left in overcast Seattle and found myself on the sunny coast. The expanse of the beach alone was incredible. It was perfect for letting the dogs run around, and even though other people were around, it was super easy to still be yards away from anyone else. The water was pretty far out from the start of the beach, leaving miles of hard-packed sand filled with all sorts of shells from crabs and other critters. Once we got to the ocean, there was plenty of shallow water for the dogs to splash around in. They still never go in any water above their legs, so I wasn't concerned about them going deep enough to be in any danger. This is also a prime spot for having fires on the beach. I didn't plan on it for this trip, but I definitely took note of it for future trips. I headed back to my campsite to test out an experimental cooking setup I had thought up. I bought an induction stovetop with an always pan, thinking that I could run it off a power station. I had tested the stovetop and pan at home, and it worked perfect. What I didn't test was plugging the stovetop into the power station. And it turns out the stovetop requires a lot more wattage than the power station gives off. And any electrical power station that has enough wattage is at least $1,000. So that's not going to happen. But I'm not totally abandoning the setup just yet. I'm planning to just only use it when I have electrical hookups. And when I don't have one, I'm going to use this cheap gas stove I picked up immediately after this trip. Fortunately, I prepared egg salad as a backup, or for lunch the next day. So I made myself a sandwich and perched myself on the mound behind my campsite to watch over the beach while I ate. Not too long after, the sun started turning golden, meaning sunset was approaching. I got back up, grabbed my camera, and headed out for another stroll along the water. The next morning, I took my time waking up. My simple setup of a basic sleeping pad and sleeping bag in the back of my car was surprisingly comfortable and was enough for me to have a solid night of sleep. A neighbor had offered me some coffee, so I gladly took it, especially after realizing that I couldn't boil any water because I forgot the gas to my camp stove. Then I set myself up on the mound to enjoy more reading and looking over the ocean. Eventually I got hungry and knew there was a coffee shop in town that might have something. I went in expecting only basic plastic wrapped pastries, but they had a few breakfast items to order, including a giant waffle with berries and cream. That seemed like a pretty obvious choice. And so I grabbed that and headed straight for Moclips, where I knew I could drive my car right up on the beach. I parked my car, set up my camp chair and my table, and then had a lovely brunch on the beach. And after watching several other cars do a full round on the beach, I decided to do some more cruising along the water. final joyride, I sent my farewells to the Pacific Ocean and made my way back up to Seattle. That was Pacific Beach. I really never thought of the southern beaches of Washington that much, but that's because all the glory goes to the Olympic Peninsula or down to Oregon, and understandably so. Both of those areas are absolutely gorgeous. But this area was just so relaxing and peaceful. I feel like I really didn't do all that much, but the full 24 hours that I spent there went by super quickly. I also feel like this was the perfect time to go. I had all the benefits of the long days, but without any of the summer crowds. And next week I have another car camping trip on the coast at another state park. I got some new gear recently that I need to test out, especially before I do some summer road tripping. So hang tight for that. And until then, you can like, subscribe, do all the things, and I'll see you next week. Bye!